By the final decades of the Roman Republic, strain no longer produced compromise. The system fractured. Laws remained on record and elections continued, but neither checked violence. Political disputes ended in bloodshed rather than debate. Armies followed individuals instead of the state. Loyalty was purchased, not earned. Those seeking power operated by a shared understanding. Authority belonged to whoever could take it and keep it. In this collapsing world, another strongman did not immediately announce himself. He did not arrive at the head of an army or claim authority by force. Instead, he moved quietly inside the chaos, allowing others to destroy each other first. By the time Rome realized what was happening, the Republic was already beyond recovery, and one man stood in the space it left behind. Rome was already drifting toward collapse when a child named Gaius Octavius was born on the 23rd of September, 63 BC. His family held wealth and respect, positioned within the equestrian class rather than the ruling senatorial elite. That position allowed a measure of influence, but it imposed limits. Power remained vulnerable, dependent on balance, and subject to being overridden by families with deeper roots in the Republic's hierarchy. That vulnerability deepened when his father died while Octavius was still a child. The household lost its protector, and his mother Asia became the central force in his life. Through her, Octavius was connected to Julius Caesar, a relationship that promised opportunity but also danger. In Rome, proximity to power often attracted enemies before it brought protection. The city around him offered no stability. Elections were corrupted, rival factions fought openly in the streets, and armed gangs enforced political outcomes. Generals like Pompey and Caesar had already shown that military loyalty outweighed republican law. For a young boy without a famous name or commanding presence, survival required caution. Octavius learned early that visibility could be fatal. Physically, he was unimpressive by Roman standards. He suffered frequent illness and lacked the strength and charisma associated with military heroes. In another era, this would have ended his ambitions. Instead, it pushed him toward a different form of power. His education emphasized rhetoric, law, and administration. He learned how systems worked, how authority was justified, and how patience could outlast brute force. These traits would later compensate for everything he lacked on the battlefield. On the 15th of March 44 BC, the Senate became a place of violence. Julius Caesar was killed in public view, and the Republic broke into uncertainty, fear, and opportunity. News of the assassination spread outward from Rome. Octavius was 18 and away from the capital when it reached him. With the report came a second disclosure. Caesar had adopted him and designated him as his primary heir. This inheritance was not a gift. It was a liability. Caesar's wealth, name, and supporters came bundled with his enemies. Many in Rome expected the young Octavius to step aside or be eliminated. Mark Antony, Caesar's most powerful lieutenant, moved quickly to dominate the political vacuum and sideline the heir. Octavius did not challenge him openly. He did something more dangerous. He gathered Caesar's veterans, invoked Caesar's name relentlessly, and framed himself as the rightful continuation of a murdered leader's cause. Senators dismissed him as harmless. That miscalculation proved fatal. In 43 BC, Octavius formed the second triumvirate with Antony and Lepidus. This was not a handshake agreement, but a legalized suspension of normal government. The triumvirs unleashed proscriptions, publishing lists of enemies to be hunted down and killed. Property was seized, scores were settled, and fear returned to Rome. Cicero's execution sent a clear message: opposition would not be tolerated. The triumvirate crushed Caesar's assassins at Philippi in 42 BC, but unity ended with victory. Lepidus was marginalized. Antony took control of the east and aligned himself with Cleopatra. Octavius remained in the west, repairing Italy's instability and presenting himself as Rome's traditionalist protector. The stage was set for a final confrontation that neither side could avoid. In 31 BC, the conflict closed at Actium. Octavius was not present in command of the fleet. His general Agrippa carried out the fighting and secured a decisive victory over Antony and Cleopatra. Within a year, both opponents were dead. After decades of struggle, no rival warlord remained. Victory created a new problem. Rome hated kings, and Caesar's dictatorship had ended in murder. Octavius understood that survival required restraint. In 27 BC, he publicly declared that he was restoring power to the Senate and the Roman people. The gesture appeared selfless. In response, the Senate granted him the title Augustus, an authority so extensive that resistance became meaningless. The Republic still existed on paper. In practice, Augustus controlled the provinces, the armies, and the treasury. This system, later called the Principate, masked personal rule behind familiar institutions. Stability returned without openly admitting monarchy. Augustus restructured the army into a permanent professional force. Soldiers were paid regularly, promised pensions, and tied to the state rather than individual commanders. Veterans were settled in colonies, easing unrest and extending Roman control. Economic reforms followed. Taxation became standardized, records improved, coinage stabilized trade, roads, ports, and aqueducts connected the empire more tightly than ever before. In Rome, construction reshaped the city itself. Temples, forums, and monuments emphasized order and continuity. Augustus claimed he transformed a city of brick into one of marble, and the claim reflected his broader project, permanence after chaos. Culture reinforced politics. Writers celebrated Roman destiny. Religion was revived. Moral laws promoted family and discipline. Enforcement was uneven, but the message was clear. Augustus was not just ruling Rome, he was redefining what Rome was meant to be. Peace brought no safety. Along the frontiers, expansion met sustained resistance. In 9 AD, the danger became unmistakable in Germania, where 3 legions were destroyed. Roman ambitions east of the Rhine ended there, and the defeat reportedly weighed on Augustus for the remainder of his life. A deeper risk remained unresolved: succession. Augustus had no surviving sons. He selected and prepared heirs with care and lost them one after another. Gaius and Lucius died young, forcing repeated revisions to his plans. Each loss exposed the fragility of a system built around one man. Opposition persisted beneath the surface. Senators resented their reduced role. Moral legislation angered elites. Augustus avoided mass terror, relying instead on exile, legal pressure, and control of public narrative. His authority survived not through constant violence, but through legitimacy carefully maintained. In his final years, Augustus stepped back from daily rule. Authority passed gradually to trusted officials and to Tiberius, while the machinery of government continued to operate. The arrangement tested whether the structure he had built could function without him. On the 19th of August 14 AD, he died at 75. What followed had no precedent. Power changed hands without civil war. The Senate declared him divine, fixing his memory within Rome's political and religious order. A century of civil war came to a close. In its place stood a system built to last. The forms and language of the Republic remained visible, while authority gathered at the center. From this structure emerged an empire that governed wide territories and varied populations for centuries. Those who came after did not begin anew. Each emperor stepped into the framework already set. Some managed it effectively, others did not. None operated outside it. Augustus proved that control could be maintained through institutions, symbolism, and consent as much as through force. He did not merely take power, he redesigned it. Rome never returned to what it had been, and it never forgot the model he left behind. That was the goated emperor of Rome, do you agree? Like the video if you do, or drop your true goat in the comments. Also, who is your true goat of the world?